Quantum Mind, How to Think on the Quantum Level, Part 1. The Awakening of the Quantum Mind, Chapter 1. The Mind Beyond Atoms. There is a moment, quiet but undeniable, when a person realizes their mind is far larger than they ever believed. It does not come with fireworks. It rarely comes with certainty. Instead, it begins with a question powerful enough to crack open the walls of ordinary thinking. What if your thoughts are not chemical sparks, but quantum events? Most people have spent their lives believing the mind is a machine inside the skull, a sealed chamber of neurons and electrical pulses. This is the old model. Useful, predictable, mechanical, but it is also incomplete. Because the mind does not act like a machine. It behaves like a field. Thoughts appear before the brain fires. Intuition arrives without evidence. Decisions emerge from places we cannot name. You have experienced this countless times, but you dismissed it because no one taught you that the mind can operate outside the boundaries of biology. You have been living as if consciousness is a prisoner of the brain. It never was. This chapter is the first crack in the prison wall. A quantum mind does not think in straight lines. It does not follow the simple path of stimulus and response. It leaps. It senses. It predicts. It collapses possibilities into reality. It behaves the same way particles behave at the smallest levels of existence, where the rules of classical logic dissolve and something more mysterious, more elegant, begins to operate. To think on the quantum level, you must begin by accepting a single idea. The model of the mind you inherited is too small for the mind you actually have. This is not mysticism. It is the beginning of a new mental architecture. When physicists peer into the foundations of reality, they do not find solid objects. They find tendencies, waves of probability, invisible patterns waiting for observation to shape them into something real. At this level, beneath the atom, beneath the electron, the universe behaves less like a machine and more like a thought. It responds to awareness. It adjusts to attention. It moves in ways that seem unreasonable to anyone who insists on thinking linearly. Your mind mirrors this behavior. Your thoughts mirror this dance. Your choices collapse possibilities the same way observation collapses waves into particles. A thought is not an event inside the skull. A thought is a particle choosing its destiny. When you understand this, your life begins to shift. You stop treating your mind as a problem to fix and start seeing it as a field to navigate. You stop forcing outcomes and start shaping them. You stop identifying with your fears and start observing them. The observer becomes more powerful than the experience. Stillness becomes strategy. Awareness becomes influence. Focus becomes creation. This is the beginning of the quantum mind. But before you learn how to use this power, you must understand why your mind has never behaved like the tidy, logical entity you were taught to expect. You have felt the pull of intuition, that whisper that speaks before reasoning arrives. You have sensed the emotional signals of others before they said a word. You have walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift without knowing why. You have experienced flashes of clarity that arrived too quickly to be processed by ordinary thought. These experiences are not exceptions. They are glimpses. Evidence that the mind you use daily is only a fragment of the consciousness that exists behind it. The quantum mind is the full system. The brain is only the instrument. Consciousness, your awareness, your presence, your witnessing self, is the field behind the instrument. It is not confined by distance. It is not bound by time. It is not limited by the past. It is not weakened by doubt. The field remains whole, even when your thoughts are scattered, even when your emotions are turbulent, even when your life feels divided. Your task is not to create this field. Your task is to uncover it. This path does not require belief. It requires attention. Because the moment you begin observing the mind rather than reacting to it, you separate yourself from the noise of the brain and reconnect with the quiet power beneath it. Stillness is the mind's portal to the quantum field. Consider this. When particles are observed, they behave differently. They choose. They settle into one reality. But when they are unobserved, they exist in multiple possibilities at once. The same is true of your mind. When you are unconscious, lost in thought, absorbed by stress, pulled by the habits of yesterday, you operate as a collapsed version of yourself. You repeat patterns. You follow old scripts. You become predictable. But when you observe your mind, you enter superposition. You regain possibility. You rise above the automatic. You step into a field of choices rather than the momentum of one. Observation is your first act of power. This is why masters of every tradition, from ancient philosophers to modern neuroscientists, teach the same underlying principle. Become aware. Witness yourself. Step behind the noise. The moment you do, you regain access to the larger field of your being. And here is the fundamental truth of quantum-level thinking. Your awareness is more important than your thoughts. Thoughts are fluctuations. Awareness is the field. When you operate from awareness, your mind quiets. Your decisions sharpen. Your emotional turbulence settles. You begin sensing the world rather than reacting to it. And most importantly, you recognize that your identity is not fixed. It is a probability wave. It changes when you observe it differently. This chapter is not meant to convince you. It is meant to open the door. Because once a door is opened, it can no longer be unseen. Now we transition from idea to practice. Here is your first exercise. Sit for 60 seconds. That is all. Do not force calm. Do not chase silence. Do not try to think differently. Just observe. Watch your thoughts without becoming them. Do this once today. Tomorrow, do it again. This is the first turn of the key. Because when you observe your mind, you influence it. When you influence it, you shape it. When you shape it, you collapse new realities into being. You are not a machine made of atoms. You are a field of possibilities learning how to shape itself consciously. This is the mind beyond atoms. Welcome to the quantum level. Chapter 2. The Observer Within. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize they are not simply living inside the world. They are shaping it. Not with force, not with luck, but with awareness itself. Awareness is not passive. It is not background. It is not a silent passenger inside your skull. Awareness is the world maker. To grasp the quantum mind, you must first grasp the role of the observer, the part of you that sees without reacting, that notices without being pulled, that remains present even as the mind storms, spins, and struggles. This observer is not your thoughts. It is not your memories. It is not the voice that narrates your day. The observer is the one who sees all of that. It is the quiet presence behind your thoughts, the witnessing intelligence that notices your emotions, the spacious field that remains unchanged no matter what your mind is doing. This chapter explores one of the most transformative truths ever discovered, scientifically, psychologically, and spiritually. Observation collapses possibility into outcome. Before something is observed, it exists in a cloud of potential. Once it is observed, it chooses a form. This is not just physics. It is the blueprint of consciousness. To understand the mind at a quantum level, you must understand the observer within you, the force that decides what becomes real in your experience. This is not philosophy. It is practical power. Let us begin where science first noticed something strange. In the double-slit experiment, particles behave like waves, spreading out and exploring multiple paths until they are observed. The moment someone watches, the possibilities collapse into a single outcome. Reality, it seems, responds to awareness. This is precisely how your inner life works. Your emotions contain infinite possibilities until you observe them. Your thoughts carry countless directions until you choose which one to follow. Your identity holds many versions of you until you recognize one as the truth. Everything shifts when the observer awakens. The unobserved mind behaves like a wave, messy, scattered, reactive. The observed mind behaves like a particle, focused, deliberate, precise. Awareness collapses mental chaos into clarity. This is the first mastery of the quantum thinker. Most people move through life without engaging their observer. They are consumed by thought, dragged by emotion, and trapped inside their own patterns. They operate unconsciously, repeating the same reactions day after day, because they are not aware enough to choose differently. The quantum mind operates from a higher vantage point. It does not drown in thought, it watches thought. It does not collapse under emotion, it studies emotion. It does not assume identity, it selects identity. The observer is the lever that shifts internal probability into external reality. Notice what happens the moment you become conscious of a thought. It loses power. Notice what happens the moment you observe your fear. It begins to dissolve. Notice what happens the moment you witness anger rising. It slows and softens. When you observe, you reclaim your ability to choose. Choosing is the collapse of possibility into outcome. A thought unobserved can run your life. A thought observed becomes a choice. This is why awareness is the strongest force of personal transformation. It ends the dictatorship of automatic reactions. Here is the truth: wealthy thinkers, elite performers, spiritual masters, and great strategists all understand. The person who controls their awareness controls their reality. Awareness is not something you use, it is something you become. To think on the quantum level, your first task is to strengthen the observer within you. And you strengthen it through presence. Presence is the state where awareness is awake, not drifting. Where the observer is online, not passive. Where you see yourself rather than react automatically. Presence collapses internal possibilities into deliberate outcomes. Observe your mind, and your mind begins to obey you. Observe your emotions, and they begin to settle. Observe your reactions, and you break the chains of habit. This is how awareness becomes the architect of the life you experience. But how do you activate this observer within you more consistently? Begin with a simple practice. It will seem small, but its consequences are enormous. The next time a thought appears, do not follow it. Do not judge it. Do not fight it. Simply say internally, "I see you." 3 words. A quiet acknowledgement. A shift from participation to observation. When you say, "I see you," something subtle but powerful happens. You are no longer inside the thought. You are outside it. You have become the observer. You have stepped into the quantum position. The moment you see a thought, you take away its autonomy. The moment you observe an emotion, you interrupt its momentum. Awareness brings choice. Choice brings collapse. Collapse brings reality. This is how consciousness shapes experience. A calm observer collapses chaos into clarity. A frightened observer collapses fear into limitation. A confident observer collapses possibility into achievement. The quality of your awareness determines the quality of your outcomes. This is why the practice of observation is not a luxury. It is the foundational skill of quantum-level thinking. You cannot change what you do not observe. You cannot direct what you do not notice. You cannot master what you are not conscious of. The observer within you is the part that can never be overwhelmed, never be threatened, never be diminished. It is the steady flame behind the storm of your thinking. Thoughts flicker. Emotions surge. Memories surface. Doubts rise. Fears shake you. But the observer remains untouched. That is why spiritual traditions for thousands of years and cutting-edge neuroscience today arrive at the same conclusion. Awareness transforms experience. Not through effort, but through presence. Not through analysis, but through observation. When you witness the mind, you rise above the mind. When you witness the self, you expand beyond the self. This is the quiet revolution of consciousness. Not loud, not dramatic, but unstoppable. The observer within you is the true beginning of mastery. Because once awareness becomes active, everything else becomes possible. You can change your identity. You can shift your emotional states. You can collapse new realities into existence. You can think on the quantum level. This chapter leaves you with a single, powerful line. You are not the storm inside your mind. You are the sky that watches it. In the next chapter, you will learn how this observer creates outcomes, how your attention, focus, and presence shape the very trajectory of your life. But for now, remember the truth that transforms everything. Awareness collapses possibility into reality. This is the work of the observer within.